and shock them. There's something about routine that although it's good for us, you also got to step out of it. How do you step out of it? He has 7 ways. I won't go through the descriptions. I'll just list them off. He said, if you want 7 easy ways to shock you out of your routine, and again, for those in the home group, you probably remember them and can list them off the top of your head, but so that you don't show me up because I have to read them, I'll read them. Number 1, try new translation of the Bible. Number 2, do a 40-day fast. Try food. If you can't do food, try television, try computers, try email, try Facebook. Try something. Number 3, keep a journal. Number 4, go to a conference or a retreat. Number 5, try a mission trip. Number 6, start serving. Number 7, plug into a small group. I push that one. I like small groups. And of course, I put in here Albert Einstein, pretty smart guy, said, in your life, there are 2 ways to live your life. One, as if nothing is a miracle, or the other is if everything is a miracle. So, the wild goose isn't just looking for us to chase him to get to a destination. You realize it's enjoying the journey, the spiritual adventure we're on. We've got to break out of the thing of routine of nothing ever changes. We bump over to assumptions. Assumptions. Abraham, Genesis 15. What happens? Genesis 15. We have assumptions. Did you know that your assumptions as you get older, you have fewer and fewer assumptions? Or sorry, you have more and more assumptions, fewer and fewer just expectations that anything could happen? That he was laughing. I don't know if you remember the story he had of he took his little boy to the aviation place. What happens? It was a cutaway of a DC-9, and they're going to get on it. So there's no wings, no engine, no front, no nothing. It's just a cutaway with some seats. So you can look at what inside a DC-9 looks like. And they realized their youngest boy was nervous to get on. They're like, Josiah, what's wrong? He goes, it's not going to take off? Why? He had no concept that this couldn't take off. Everybody else, the adults, well, for it to take off, you need to have wings, engines, the rest of the fuselage, the tail, the cockpit. The question is, as water and whiners, haven't called us that. When we step into something that is not complete, are we going to expect that everything has to be complete before God can use it in a miraculous way? What's our assumptions going to be? And that would be hilarious for me if they'd gotten on that cutaway plane and everything took off. But the point is, we need God-given imagination. That when we get on a bus, or if we go shopping, or if we have a problem, or we see somebody with a broken down car, that immediately that God begins to break us out of our routine, and we have a miraculous God-given expectation of what's going to happen, because we're going to have God's imagination with us. So, when you have a wife that's 90 years old that has never had a child, your natural assumption is that you cannot have children at that age. You know what I'm saying? But the cool thing, what I love, is in assumptions. When they talk about it, he had Abraham come out of the tent. Why did he have him come out of the tent? He had him come out and count the stars. Because it shows, in the tent, Mark Batterson was saying, you're in a man-made thing. You have a man-made limit, a man-made ceiling. You step out of the tent, now you have the stars, billions of light years above you. So the question I ask, are you caught with man-made expectations put on you? Man-made assumptions that because of who you are, because of your age, because of your gender, because of your education, that you can only do so much? Because we need to break the cage of assumptions on us. We need to be able to get out and say, this is your expectation of what God is saying you can be, because this is your limit, not this. It's time to have God assumptions, God imagination of how high you can fly. And because of that, when we change our perspective, I threw a couple extra verses in there. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Ephesians 3:20. He is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine according to his power that is at work within us. Romans 8:31. If God is for us, who can be against us? Mark 9:31. All things are possible for those who believe. So, F.B. Meyer said, unbelief puts our circumstances between us and God. Faith puts God between us and our circumstances. What limitations do you believe you have? One last note on that, and I might even, we're hitting 5 o'clock, so I got 3 more to go, and I went only through 3, so it was half an hour. So I'm going to wait. I don't want to go for the other half hour. All I'll say is, for the love of the Father and the worship I saw today, we have to be very careful of who and what we think God, who God is and what he can do. What am I saying? Because the next 3 I love. The breaking off guilt, breaking off failure, breaking off fear. But before that, I'll close on this, and maybe in August I'll talk to Dad and see if I can finish up the other 3. When we look at our circumstances and only see solutions that we can do, we have then made God in our image. And I am so concerned because that, folks, is idolatry. To worship anything other than God himself is idolatry. And when we start looking at our own circumstances and figuring that God is limited by what we can do. It's subtle, but I think it's one of the most deadly forms of idolatry in Christians. So, I would like to suggest that Isaiah 55, I didn't put this in there, but 55:8 says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, my thoughts than your thoughts. So, if you allow me, because I know that I'm known as a musician, but in university I love sciences and high school. Yeah. We'll close on this. Perspective. Because the enemy will come to deceive and to get you thinking that you cannot get done what you're called to do because you don't have what you need to do it. And when you're on God's side, look at the scriptures I threw in there. He is for us. Who can be against us? All things are possible. I want you to have this. You can stick it in your Bible and just have these verses. But our sun is 93 million miles away. So if we get in a car right now and drive about 100 kilometers an hour, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, no P stops, sorry. Did you know it would take us 163 years to get there? But the speed of light, the amount of time it takes for the sun and the warmth for you to feel it, 8 minutes. Okay, that's comparison how fast the speed of light is in comparison. So, they're saying right now, they got the Hubble telescope, they're looking at it, that right now our galaxy is probably at least 13.7 billion light years away. Not miles, light years, as in 163, driving 100 kilometers an hour, 163 years to get there, 8 minutes to get back with the light. So, if 1 light year is 5, so that works out that the light year, is 5.8 trillion miles. The light can travel in a year, 5.8 trillion. So, if the light spent all that time and it was 13.7 billion miles away, that means it's 80 sextillion miles. I don't know if anybody's doing the math in their head. Trust me, 80 sextillion. Thank you. So, what am I saying? When we are looking at issues, when we are dealing with the cage of assumptions, and we'll end on this one, how much help is available to you? What kind of wisdom is available to you? When he says his ways are higher than our ways, his thoughts are higher than our thoughts, that is equivalent to him saying, you are on the earth, his thoughts are 86 trillion miles away. 13.7 billion times 5.88 trillion. Above our thoughts. Church, we've got to get ready. We've got to look at issues in a whole different way. We've got to look at crisis in a whole different way. In fact, as we close to pray, Japan, I think it was it's something else I was reading. I love reading. That's something I love about my son-in-law, Ryan. He likes reading too. He shares stuff with me at home group. I love reading. Did you know? Does anybody here speak Japanese in all seriousness? Anybody? Okay. Did you know that they do not have a word for crisis? Their house burns down, it's an opportunity. It's incredible. They do not have a word for crisis. Their perspective, their mindset is not that way. So, can I suggest this? The assumptions is that anything that happens is an opportunity. It's part of the process. It's part of the process. I challenge anybody living life to believe anything other than either we are moving in what God has prepared us to do, or we're heading towards that. Think about that. Either we are doing what we're called to do, or we're in the process of getting ready to do it. That's my life. There's a lot of stuff that hasn't figured out. You guys know the awesome people I had with me at Tri-Media. Man, we prayed and everything, and it was fantastic. We knew right up to the day that we realized that we're probably going to move on, that's what we're supposed to do. Even the week before, we're praying. And we're just saying, God, what's going on? Why we did it, I still don't know. But I know it was a God. I know it was a God. I know we're in a process. I don't know what's going on. Except I got a few men that I love and I do anything for, and I know they love me and do anything for me. It's just, we got really, really tight in relationship. So at this point, there's 4 things I want you to think about besides the teams and water and wine. 1, God-ordained passion. The question he was asked in Nehemiah 2, when he came back, he said, your face, the king says to him, I'll let you read it because that's part of the homework. Either read the Bible. It's awesome. It's awesome things to do. Awesome thing to do. He says, you're downcast. Are you sick? Because you seem frowning. No. Well, what's wrong? Why are you frowning? I've never seen it like this. He goes, well, this is going on in my home, back where I'm from. So he says, what do you want? The question I ask you, if you were approached right now with God's will, and somebody said, what do you want? Do you know? How would you respond to that? To be released in God's will. Somebody says, you want to do God's will, what do you want? What would you do?